but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties, sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
Hola. This is Coy. I'm going to say hola because based on the GOP legislatures in the state of Texas, we may not be able to say hola very much longer. I mean, you know, they're in your uteruses, they're in your voting booth, and for long they'll be in your vocal cords, and you won't be able to say, hola, ¿cómo está? So I'm going to try to get it out as much as possible, just because I feel the need to connect with Tejas in a way that we haven't been able to do before. I mean, you know, ever since we hook boogied the Tejas from Mexico. So I am going to greet you today, brothers and sisters, gods and goddesses, sun-kissed by God's lips, by simply saying, hola. All right, we got a mess in Texas. You know how they say don't mess with Texas? Well, Texas is a mess. But before I go there, let me say this. The network bar is an absolute disaster. It's beyond a mess. It's in a state of uppedness. You know, I just left out one letter, but I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. It's in a state of uppedness. All right. So those of you that know and follow this show and are friends of Black Tea Sip, you know that I periodically run political campaigns, and I've had some success with the judicial campaigns in Dallas County. And I am proud to be a part of the consortium that has elected more black women as jurists in Dallas County than any other county in the United States. Had someone argue with me about Houston, and yes, Houston, H-Town has done their thing, but after, because I'd like to speak in chronological order, after Dallas County, Harris County, then elected several black women to the bench, and they became judges. And I'm talking about this today at the start of this show because Jane Hope Hamilton, who is a friend of this show and a friend of mine and has done some extraordinary things with Dallas County politics and in the state of Texas. I think I'm going to post this digitally just so you guys can see it. Shout out to Tueri. Can you make this digital where the pages will flip? I just can't put her on blast. She's going to be like, what? So Jane has, when the Dallas County flipped from red to blue, it was Jane Hope Hamilton that was the Dallas County campaign manager that actually started to effectuate or open the door, if you will, for black men and women to be elected officials in Dallas County to really deal with criminal justice reform. Because Craig Watkins became the first black district attorney in the state of Texas ever. She was his campaign manager, as she was for Liz Frizzell, who is a soror of ours, who also became a judge. And so, and I'm calling Liz's name because Liz is very well respected on and off the bench, and ran a very successful campaign, but lost to D.A. Cruzo, who has done some amazing things by just standing his ground. Even when the police department was saying, no, Cruzo was saying, we are not going to prosecute people for a doobie in the ashtray, unlit. It looks like it's a real roach because it's dried up, you know. So we've made strides in Dallas County. And the GOP is terrified of people like Jane Hamilton and the strides that we've made in Dallas County that is now starting to infect Harris County and other counties in the state. And I'm telling you this because originally the invitation, for those of you that follow me, know that the Network Bar was where we had opted to go. Now, let me just give you a little background about the Network Bar. The Network Bar is a bar and eatery with conference rooms set up. I mean, the concept, the idea, it is really genius. But you have to have a membership. And I'm not sure of the membership. I think someone told me $2,500. And that may not be accurate because I didn't inquire personally. And then someone told me $1,500. But I was actually interested in becoming a member of the Network Bar because people go there and they work and they have meetings. And it's a quiet little place in Oak Cliff, Texas. I'm saying it like sunshine because Sunshine, he is kind of like sunshine sometimes. He says Oak Cliff because, you know, he's from New Orleans and his parents were teachers and he's all about enunciation. But those of you that are around my way, you know, we say Oak Cliff. It just doesn't roll off the tongue like that for other people unless, you know, you not new to it, but true to it. But I've digressed. And so it is in Oak Cliff. It is in Trinity Grove where you have several eateries and, you know, there's a whole little section there on Sylvan in that Beckley area. What real Dallasites know, that's West Dino. That's West Dallas. They've renamed it so some people that don't look quite like us will feel comfortable because they would not be so comfortable in West Dallas. And so I have some words for the Network Bar. Oak Cliff, Texas is 60% of the city of Dallas. I know they did not know that. I'm also sure that they did not know that 51% of the vote in Dallas County comes from black folk. Now, granted, all skin folk ain't kin folk. Zora Neale Hurston, that's not mine, that's hers. But I think there is something to be said for an organization that wants us to patronize it that will not honor its commitment. So let me tell you about that real briefly. We were scheduled for the Network Bar. Jane is a member and another host. He hasn't given me permission to use his name, so I'm not. He was also a host. He was a host for the fundraiser that we threw, and he is also a member of the Network Bar in West Dino, renamed Trinity Grove. Well, with that being said, we talked to them. This guy talked to them. He's there all the time. They're always very gracious to him. And we were set up to have the event for Jane Hope Hamilton's fundraiser there. We were trying to finalize some things and get the food, and then we just could not get follow up or follow through from the Network Bar. And it became so egregious that eventually Jane and our friend Fallon went there, and they told us that we hadn't executed the contract. Now, wait. Before you say, well, what you talking about? You didn't execute. We were trying. We couldn't get them to email it. They wouldn't fax it. They wouldn't put on a pigeon's foot. They wouldn't light it up with a smoke screen. And they wouldn't give it to us. And we couldn't understand why, because they had been so gracious and willing to work with us and send us the menu, and we were picking the food and all of this, and we couldn't get a contract. And so they went there. And when they got there, they said because we had not executed a contract, they were booked. And we thought that was odd because they had been talking to us the whole time and literally said, you have until a week before the event to execute the contract. And they would hold the place for us. Now, I know that an executed contract is the way that you do these things. I will not dispute that. I'm going to honor that in the spirit of truth and love, honesty and business professionalism. However, a verbal contract still works in the court of law. So when they go, they're told, well, no, it's booked. But what about if you were to have it outside? Well, perfect, because one of my concerns was I didn't necessarily want to be, in the words of my father, outdoors. I would have preferred to be in, I'm sorry, I didn't want to be indoors. I would have preferred to be outdoors, as my daddy would say. And so I felt like, this was a better option for us. And to be honest, Jane and Fallon thought it was a better option as well, given the Delta surge and where we are currently with C-19. And so they say, oh, it's this place, it's right next door. Perfect. We won't have to change the actual address because understand the invitations had gone out. So because we were relying on their name, we on their word, we trusted the relationships were in place because 2 of them were in fact members that were negotiating and speaking to them. So it'd be different if I were doing it because I wasn't a member. And so I hope that you can understand kind of how things progressed. And yes, there could have been some things that we did differently, but I hope you pay attention to the fact that we took them at their word. There was constant communication until the invitation goes out. They knew the invitation was going out. They knew it. They were supposed to send. We said, we need to get the invitation. Can you go ahead and send the contract? And then there was some cloudiness, some little fuzziness with the contract. So we said, great, we won't have to change the address. It'll be outside. Perfect. Guess what? It wasn't perfect. Because after they met with the outdoor event manager, and he was very gracious, and oh, yes, you can have it here, and I don't have anything on that date, blah, 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 blah. Guess what happened? No return phone call from him either. No contract, nothing. We could not, listen, we couldn't buy a contract from these people. So we ended up at the last minute going to Dot's Hop House, which was a beautiful place. Huge, massive chandelier. And we were able to have a wonderful event. Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes was there. County Commissioner John Wiley Price was there. And if you go to, if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you can kind of get an idea of how great the event was. And I'm not just patting myself on the back, although it's a poor dog won't wag his own tail. And I'm not just tooting my own horn, but beep, beep. I think Fallon and I did a great job. And it was beautiful and it was successful. And you were really able to feel Jane's passion and learn about how she has been fighting the good fight and getting into good trouble in this state and in this county since, the early 2000s. But the network bar, we did a little research and we found out that the network bar is owned and operated by huge Trumpsters. That's right, boys and girls. You guessed it. They realized Democrat event, colored folks coming through the door. JWP and Freddie Haynes, which would be considered radicals, to the Trumpsters. And they refused to let us have the place. So shout out to Patty at Dot's Hop House. Fantastic person, gracious. Shayla and the other servers there, they were exemplary in every way. The food was good. The atmosphere was good. The beautiful chandelier. Shout out to Fallon with the floral. She did a fantastic job. It was a great event. But listen, the GOP is not just messing with your uteruses and messing with your voting booths. They even trying to mess with your, whether you talk about your politics or your fun, they're in our business. This is Caught with the Black Tea Sip. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with me because we are going to talk about fire and flood and brimstone and even pestilence. Are we in Revelations? I don't know, but I'm going to reveal some things today. We've got a Lil Nas X. I want to talk about the state of black manhood and what is really going on. This is Caught with the Black Tea Sip in a minute.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analyst are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel, titled I Am, follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
All right, and we're back. If you're just joining me, this is Coy with your black tea sip, and I'm telling you right now, go grab your cup. I'm gonna fill it up. We've got a lot going on in the world. I was just talking about how the GOP is not just messing with me; it's messing with you. We've got some foolishness with the Texas legislator. Listen, I don't understand what all the hoopla was about. And I'm calling it hoopla because I don't know what another word to use. I don't know. Y'all said, did you just say hoopla? Yes, I did. I said hoopla. This is the deal. We saw the Texas legislators leave Austin on a chartered plane and fly to D.C. We saw it. We saw the interviews. We saw them talking about the fact that they shall not be moved. You know, I mean, they were almost singing Kumbaya. And we appreciated the effort. But yesterday, the heartbeat bill took effect. The United States Supreme Court decided not to hear the case. They requested an emergency hearing to basically, for those of you that are familiar with just your county or municipal courts, to ask for a TRO, a temporary restraining order, to enjoin them or stop them from being able to effectuate the law that became active and in effect yesterday, which has been termed the Heartbeat Bill. And the Heartbeat Bill says that you must know that you are pregnant by 6 weeks and get an abortion within that time frame. Now, most abortions that are early occur at the 6 to 8 week mark. And that is because it is typically 6 to 8 weeks before a woman knows that she is in fact impregnated. So I have some thoughts, some philosophies, if you will, some Coyisms, as many of you like to call them, and I'm going to share them now. One of the major concerns of the Republican Party is the fact that, and we say Hispanic, but the truth is we're talking about Latinx, Latinos, Latinas, that they will become the majority. There will now be what once was the minority, they become the majority. And I think there is also a fear that if the black community and the brown community really get together, I mean, we talk about it, but we don't really see the effects of it at the polling stations, in the voting booth. But if we really were to galvanize both bases and join them together, we could do some extraordinary things. The abortion bill is an attempt to stop that minority from becoming the majority. We're not necessarily talking about Cubans and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. We are talking about Mexicans that are right next door that we actually owe money to. They don't talk about that. Shh, don't tell them about it. Shh. We are talking about our neighbors. I mean, I'm in Texas. I started this out by saying that we kind of did like we did a jack move. You know, I was kicking the door. Everybody lay down on the floor. Don't look at me. You know, it was one of them. when we got Tejas from Mexico. We paid them pennies, but we were already there fighting. Remember the Alamo? We were already there, without me going through history. So the real fear is about Latinos. That is what this is about. And to stop them from becoming the majority. And so if they can, in fact, stop Caucasian women from aborting their children, from being able to abort their children, from having the ability to get an abortion, then the thought process is that you will stop the quote unquote minority from becoming the majority, because it is estimated that that's going to happen in 2045. Many people have said even sooner. Now, there are some factions that are not really concerned about the Mexican community because they say they're not voters. Oh, but what if we were to get them there? That's why this Dream Act of Obama's, the DACA bill, is really hugely, critically important to stop the Republican Party. Because if we were to give people that don't quite look like them more opportunities to become really engaged in all facets of this country, not just immigrant children being able to go to school or health care or welfare services, but if we were to get them to the voting booth, oh my God, what would happen? What would happen in Texas in particular? But what would happen all over the United States? Texas, New Mexico, California. If they were to be able to turn the Cubans and the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans to really help them see that Trump is full of hot air, then what would happen with the Latin community in Florida? How would they vote? This is the problem that I have. And I say this all the time. And somebody asked me recently, what do you mean by that, Coy? I'm so glad you asked, because I just love to tell you what I think. And I just don't want to be overbearing and be obnoxious about it, because there's so many things that go on up here. But I always say Republicans tell a good story and Democrats do good data. Democrats like to talk about the fact that, all this data shows that this is going to happen, and if we're not careful in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, we're going to be faced with X, Y, and Z. And Republicans come through and say, fake news, fake news, fake news. And guess who wins? Yes, I know what you're thinking right now. You're saying, well, look, we got the House and the Senate. We do. But for how long? Truthfully, for how long? So when we start to have conversations about what it takes for us to be okay in this country, for them to get out of your uterus, I think you need to understand the intention and not just the impact, but I think the whys and the how comes are very important. There was some statistics that came out, and they said, a black baby in the womb is, in a critical state. But that's not what the data showed. The data showed that there was Caucasian women that were having abortions more than any other race. So, heartbeat bill. To stop someone who has been raped or a victim of incest to be able to have an abortion. Let me tell you what happens. People go to Kansas and get an abortion. But that's not just what the GOP did. Oh, baby, when they come all the way, right? They circle the wagons and burn 2 crosses in your yard and light them up on fire. Because it's not just you can't get an abortion. It is also in the state of Texas that you as a citizen can sue someone for taking someone to get an abortion. So I give someone a ride who is a rape victim, and I take them to a place where they abort the baby at, let's say, 8 weeks. Not only can they not perform the abortion based on the law at 8 weeks, but I can now be hauled into court and not criminally prosecuted by a citizen, but civilly prosecuted. And I haven't read the bill, but I suspect there's some kind of caveat that also allows someone to take it before a particular district attorney in a particular GOP county. I want to talk about that more. I'm going to take a quick break. This is Caught with Your Black Tea Sip. Stay tuned. We're going to get into it. We're going to unpack all of Texas mess. They said don't mess with Texas, but baby, Texas is messing with you. In a minute.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Our Door skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Our Door. Love is real. Just spread it.
For nearly 30 years, we've had the experienced leadership of Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. Now, it's our duty to ensure that we continue toward progress. I am Jane Hope Hamilton. As a wife, a mother, and for a time a single mother, I know firsthand the challenges that our families face, and I know what it takes to get things done for our families and our community. As the state director for President Biden and former chief of staff on Capitol Hill, I fought for our community to have affordable health care, good paying jobs, and quality education. For years, I have also gone toe-to-toe with those who try to push us back and knock us down. When corrupt Republicans pass discriminatory voting laws that violate our rights, I fought back, went to court, and won. And when an out-of-control cop beat me to the ground, I refused to be intimidated. I stood up for myself, and the charges were dropped because I demanded justice. In this climate, as we face so much uncertainty, I am being encouraged to run in Congressional District 30. And as I consider it, I'd like to hear from you. Together, we can move our communities and our families forward.
I started out the show saying hola because in a minute they're going to be in your vocal cords. You're not going to be able to even speak another language. I mean, Texas, baby, they getting it done. So my dear sister friend, Sorrel, childhood companion and partner in crime in most things. We don't commit crimes. That's just when we were children running around when they were telling us to go to bed at Jack and Jill conferences and we were trying to stay up. That's about as much as our crimes consist of.
Yes. Tell the truth, Coy. Tell the truth.
My dear friend, Crystal James, is here. For those of you who don't know Crystal, her grandfather, I like to call him the Honorable former Mayor Odom. Is the first black mayor of the city of Arlington. Her mother now sits on the city council in Arlington. And the Odom family, Crystal James, has been a real force in the state of Texas, locally and statewide. And she, too, is also a friend of Jane Hamilton's.
That's right.
And we are talking about the abortion heartbeat bill that went into effect yesterday. I'd like to hear your thoughts because I've already said.
Well, I don't understand it. So you can ban early abortions, which changes the law how? In that now, let me make sure you explain it to me, Coy. So I get pregnant, I'm deciding whether or not I want to keep this, I get some decisions still.
Right.
But I may not
But it's limited, very
prior to 6 weeks, so I have to carry the baby 6 weeks?
No, you have to abort prior to 6 weeks.
Well, Lord, now, friends, I'm not talking about myself, Coy, because remember, but I know friends who have thought they were pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't even know for 6 weeks. Or
sometimes you don't know until 8 weeks.
And longer.
And longer because as a woman, I know the men are like, what? Coy, please stop. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Just bear with me a little while.
Well, no, y'all need to know. Y'all want to legislate our uteruses. You need to know how they work.
So here's the thing. There are some women that continue to menstruate while they're pregnant.
Sure.
They may not know they're pregnant until they're 3 or 4 months.
Or take someone who's later in life, closer to menopause. They may not be menstruating regularly.
Right.
I mean, there could be a million reasons why you don't know. That you can lose track of time. Everybody don't track it, right?
Right.
And you come up and, as you know, most women don't show until well into their second trimester. So I don't understand how I'm supposed to, the time could run out before I even go get a pregnancy test.
You got to, so let me tell you what you got to do. You got to
Move
go
out of Texas.
You have to go to Costco and buy the pregnancy test in bulk.
Just take one every week.
And just take one every week.
I'm not getting it like that.
Now, here's the thing. Well, that's a talk show for a different day. But here is the thing. Most of those tests are not accurate. They're really not effective.
Agreed.
Until
now,
about 6 weeks.
I know that because I know several friends who they get that negative and later it's a positive. You're right, Coy.
So people do not know. But that's not, to me, that's not the most egregious thing.
No, I mean, I just didn't understand the technicality. So, no, the most egregious thing is that you can be banned from getting it. And let's be clear, it's not a ban, it's that they're not going to fund it. So rich people that with private insurance can get an abortion whenever they feel like it.
If the OBGYN, and many of them don't want to do it, is willing to do it. But more importantly, and here's what I think is most egregious, is the fact that I can be hauled into court by a citizen for taking someone to get an abortion.
I saw that, and I want to see that play out. Because what lawyer's going to take that case?
But see, here's what I'm concerned about. Because a citizen can bring you into court, we're talking about civil, right? But what about these GOP DAs?
How will they prosecute? They may Sharon try to Wilson prosecuted Crystal Taylor for voting, right? So they're going to take the little petty stuff and just bring it to bear.
And so that's a huge concern.
My bet's on Sharon Wilson to do it first, by the way.
So that's a huge concern.
Yeah.
And I'm not pro-abortion. I'm not anti-abortion. I'm not pro-life. I'm not anti. I mean, I am pro-choice. You need to make a choice, because this is what I know. There are some things that are worse than death. And bringing a baby into this world that you don't want, that runs around feeling unloved and unwanted, creates problems for other people. Because that unloved boy or girl that grows up, that feels unloved and unwanted, will then start to develop relationships with other people that oftentimes become abusive. People have a lot of stuff going on in their background, in their lives. They walking around here as the walking wounded, and they then in turn wound other people, because hurt people hurt people.
The other piece is that wanting the baby, all that, I mean, that could almost change. But what we know is this unending, persistent poverty in this country. And we have no desire to change it. So you bring a child into the world because you have to, but you know that you're not resourced to bring that child into the world. So you know already. And the statistics say they're less likely to do this, more likely to be sick, less likely to be educated. So what, and what the GO, I know it's trite to say it, but it needs to be said. They are so interested in bringing a child into the world, but they're not interested in taking care of it.
They're not interested in giving you resources.
Clothing it, giving resources,
That's right.
giving them an education, giving their parents a leg up. Let's talk about that. Because
that's right.
When you and then complain, you want to make the people have the babies and then talk about the people with all the babies.
Oh, and then talk about that bootstrap philosophy, pull yourself up. Well, you just push me down. See, when we start talking about what this means, I am also hugely concerned. I am all about people making good choices. I'm all about, being respectful of your body and not having expectations that it's going to go one way when science says it's going to go another. That's all fine. Rape victims.
Surely there should have been an exception written for rape victims, and there's not one in the bill from what I understand.
There's not.
No.
Rape victims, incest victims, all of that, carry that baby to term and then give the adopted child to someone, give that child an opportunity to be adopted. That's kind of the philosophy of the GOP.
Well, and for black women, I consider it attempted murder because we already know that when we go into the hospital, ready, in OBGYN, ready, labor and delivery,
That's right.
They're less likely to treat our pain, less likely to address any hemorrhages. We die giving children at a
Serena
rate.
Williams.
So we die, or we come close, or we live to tell the story. But if that's true, and we know it is statistically, now you're saying to me, I can't have my doctor tell me, Crystal, you're obese. You're at AMA, advanced maternal age. You must have this child and risk your life. And moreover, when you get to the hospital, when I get to Baylor, Scott and White, or THR, because they all have cases against them right now, then I am more likely than my white counterparts to die delivering that child, but I have to do it because the state said so. It's ridiculous.
But here,
it's not ridiculous. It's harmful. It is harm,
and it's cruel. It's cruel. And here's where I'm coming from. You want people to decide to carry a baby to term where they did not have a choice in getting pregnant.
That part.
You know, the philosophy. So here's what I want to say, and I'm going to close with this. The GOP, these men who are making decisions for women, well, what is going on in your home, sir? What is happening?
Their daughters are getting abortions. Let me tell you. Now, I'm from North Arlington, right where we sit. And I went to school with all the rich white Catholic girls, okay? And they were all the ones getting abortions. And private ones. Little Becky, the cheerleader, and her name wasn't Becky, but Little Becky, the cheerleader. She going out on summer break. She got a little bump in her stomach. Everybody knows she's pregnant. Everybody knows. She comes back in August for junior year of high school, and there's no baby.
No baby.
No baby. No baby. And they take care of it, and there's an article, I think it was the Post. I'll have to pull it while we're on break, but it talks about how all the back closet hanger abortions that people were arranging when there really was a ban on abortions were rich white people. Catholics supposedly wear abortion and birth control or what? Against their religion.
Well, it is against your religion till it happens to you, and you know that that's not the track that you want your child on. And I'm not saying...
And you're a Texas state senator, but your daughter is a hoe and pregnant. Can I say that on the radio?
Well, you just did.
Okay.
Because some of these little girls is slutty puppies.
Oh, are they?
So, because I went to school, I went to Bishop Dunn, and I went to Hillcrest. Oh, baby, we learned a lot. And so, and so, no, they do it, because to your point, when everybody else was on lockdown, Ted Cruz wanted to give his children a break.
To go to Cancun.
And to go to Mexico.
The rules don't apply to them, Coy.
And that's why
it's so easy to make them.
And that's why it's so easy to make them. These are the same people that are concerned about what people are doing in their bedrooms and whom they are with, and then in the bathroom stalls, they tapping their foot on the floor. Trying to get it popping.
Okay.
These are the same people who are worried about if it's boy on boy or girl on girl, the birds and the bees with the birds and the birds with the caterpillars. Y'all worried about the wrong thing. You are affecting people's lives in a way some people really don't need to be pregnant. I am not saying use pregnancy as a tool for birth control. I am not saying that. But when you start talking about rape and incest, well, you just got my blood boiling.
Well, and women at medical risk, and there might be exceptions in there. I hope that a medical doctor.
I haven't read it, but it's very restrictive.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's and there's a black woman right now on Twitter, man, I need to find it. She continued to tell her doctor, to your point, about her not feeling well. Well, now she has a degenerative heart condition with a newborn, and she's got a couple of other kids. The woman is dying because the doctor refused to listen. So we got the GOP pushing things forward, refusing to listen. We have some doctors that are evangelicals, and I don't understand this thing about how you love the Lord, but you don't love his people. I don't understand it. This is where we are. I want to come back and talk about the Texas legislators.
The other stuff.
Yeah, where they left, but then came back and screwed us over. This is Corbett the Black T Sip. We got to pay some bills. Stay with me. Go grab your cups. I'm going to fill it up.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel titled I Am follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Our Door skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Our Door. Love is real. Just spread it.
All right, this is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. I'm joined by my sister friend, soror, childhood companion, used to be my partner in crime when we were getting into trouble. Jack and Jill conferences. I know my mom and her mama raising their eyebrows and rolling their eyes. Yeah. Crystal James is in show with me today. And she, as you know, she's a friend of the show. She's been a political campaign manager. The mayor now of Arlington is currently sitting. She was his campaign manager. She's
worked on it. Hi, Jim.
Worked with Deborah Peoples and got very, very close. Her first run at mayor. I think we might see a third time there. And I know Crystal will be
Deborah's got
involved.
something cooking, and I'll bring it here first. But
Okay.
But it's not a candidacy, but it should help us out in 2022.
Okay, all right.
That's
Come
what
on, come
we
through
need.
Fort Worth. Come on, Tarrant County. We need the help.
We sure do.
Let's talk about the new highly restrictive legislative laws, voting restrictions that went into effect yesterday.
Do you even have a list of all of what it says? Because I need to pull up the guidance.
Okay.
You
yes,
have it. Of
I
course
do.
You do.
Honey.
Let me see what rules I'm gonna break.
Okay, so we talked about before how in Georgia you weren't supposed to get nobody a glass of water who was standing in
That's right.
in line, and I had somebody tell me, well, it's
But nothing about Coke or a glass of wine.
orange juice, so cocktails, in a solo cup. So here's the problem that I'm having.
We did learn that in Jack and Jill.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Shh, don't tell them. Here's the problem that I'm having. So the Democrats left the state of Texas for the Texas House and Senate, got on a chartered plane. Y'all keep saying, Cole, why you keep saying charter? I'm just saying. Got on a chartered plane and went to
A generous donor.
and went to D.C.
For weeks.
And met with legislators federally, nationally, Congress, men and women, and I understand some senators.
Yes.
To that end, nothing happened. They came home, and the laws went into effect.
Yep.
So here's my question.
Not only that, all the Negro preachers, all came from all. We marched around the Capitol. You were there a couple times.
I did.
Went around
I
the
did.
Capitol in the heat. So, Coy, I know you said.
You gotta get close to the mic.
Oh
baby.
yeah, all that for nothing. But even the performative gestures that happened still made a statement. And
But
it
I'm
caused
tired of
everybody to look. I
performative
agree.
gestures.
But what else could they do? They
So-
don't have a majority.
Well, they don't. So let me say this, and I like to call names. Gets me in trouble a lot of times. I done had people
Hey,
go
you run
off
for
on
office. You're up for full discussion.
Jasmine Crockett.
Let's talk about Jasmine. What about her?
Jasmine Crockett is the state rep.
Freshman.
To my knowledge, has not legislated, co-authored one bill.
Okay.
But she was all over MSNBC and CNN.
Well, she reminds me of a Texas AOC. Am I right or wrong?
She wants to be.
So, an AOC, I have issues with her. When you're a spiritual toddler, a toddler Christian, you know all the principles, but you've not had to live the life of being a Christian yet. So you're ready to condemn everybody. The girl that's out of wedlock and pregnant, and Jesus wouldn't do this, and you're reading the Bible every day, but you have all the talk and you've not had the walk.
Right, you can't walk.
Same AOC, I get. She's got all the progressive purity that can go nowhere because, as you know, no ideology is pure.
Right.
So she, from day one, calling out people who weren't as progressive, calling out Democrats who were compromising.
Right,
You're not doing enough. I am this. I see Jasmine as being very outspoken. I know you led the segue with performative. She's got a lot of speeches and she's out there and it looks good. Trying to get bills passed in Texas is not sexy. Is not going to have a beat.
Right,
it's not,
right.
It is hard work. It takes the whole biennium to make it happen. So I'll be interested to hear from her more. To your point, Coy, after she sponsors a bill and it fails, after she's tried to build consensus and it doesn't work, after she's tried to advance this pure progressive ideology, and that's the difference in her and Nicole Collier. So Nicole on the Fort Worth side has been in office several times. I said several terms. But you don't see her out in front of the mic as much because she's probably back there doing the work.
Well, and here's my point. So those of you that know Royce West, and he has been a long time state senator, my state senator, because I'm in his district. You see Royce pop up every now and then. Right, his chief of staff, Luana Barton, has been a kind of a mentor to me. But she's a mentor to all of us who have something to say and tries to help us say it. Say it the right way. So there's no. It's not lost on me what it takes for compromise. The problem that I'm having with the Dems is the fact that we do too much performative. It's all for show, only to come back. And why did they come back?
They probably ran out of money.
They ran out of money or they ran out of time.
I think they ran out of goodwill from the people, too. I think everybody's like, all right, you did your show. Let's get it popping because you're stopping government here. And then I wonder, we do have a crazy governor and attorney general. I wonder if they didn't get word that they were going to pursue these warrants. And I'm looking at this like I'm looking at that. I wonder if they got word they were going to pursue and activate those warrants.
Well, now, John Lewis said, go to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad they gonna treat you? You're in
jail.
You're in jail.
And you're famous.
And look, they gonna have to.
Mandela went for
those that are
years.
in
Maybe that's what they need. Just stay till they change the laws.
Until look, it's easy for me to say that because there are people who had children. And needed to be at home with their children. And that certainly would have been a driving force for me.
And COVID.
And COVID. So, but here's my thing. Okay, so everybody come to Dallas. The DA here is John Crusoe. He's a Democrat. Like, let's have some strategies about even the jail part.
I don't know, and that's what I want to get in. And this is not just the Democratic contingency that went to D.C., but the Democratic Party, period. Do we ever plan next steps? Do we ever have a strategy, Coy? Or do we just jump in and then say, oh, what next?
That's exactly what we do.
What next?
And here's my issue. And I started it by saying the Republicans tell a good story.
Right.
And we perform good data.
Right.
We are always wanting to tell about the statistics and what's going to happen. When they said Al Gore did not invent the internet, he said, oh, okay, I didn't. Sir, that is not what you say. Y'all are watching me on Al Gore's internet, the technology that put it forth so that it became www, the World Wide Web. That was Al Gore.
That's right.
So the fact that, you could pull me up in Italy and watch this show, maybe not China, that's communist in Cuba, you can't do it there. But you could watch me in other places of the world and that it was connected. So if you did a search for the Italian embassy in Dallas, Texas, you could find it. That's Al Gore. So when we start to talk about what stories we're telling, we're not doing a good job.
Right.
We are not framing the information so it is palatable to the American people, whether it's local politics, state politics, or national politics. We as Democrats do not do a good job. The reason we've been successful in doing some things that people said could not be done is because I work with my candidates to make sure that what frames them in content and context is truthful, accurate, and speaks to the heart of man that needs to vote for them.
Yeah, I think you're right, Coy, that a lot of the wins that we've had have not been because we had the best strategy, the best game plan, or even the best candidates. It's because we were on the right side of the issues in ways that made sense to the majority of the Democratic Party.
Right.
But that only takes you so far, as you see.
Right.
Because here we are with a federally majority Senate and a federally Democratic majority House and tied Senate, but in the state where things really need to happen and where we really needed votes, our hands are tied, and they can keep rolling down bills like this for the next year and a half. Well, in the next session for sure.
Yeah.
We don't concentrate where we need to, and flipping this Texas House is critical unless we want to keep getting these bills. But we have to think further than even the next election. We have to think into building a bench of qualified candidates.
Right.
As we sit right now, local government, honestly, I hate to say it, it's embarrassing to say, in Tarrant County, where we definitely did not want Betsy Price as our mayor anymore, and came within a hair's nest of getting Deborah Peoples in. Betsy Price is about to be our county judge. I have sat around with Democratic leadership. We do not have a qualified Democrat best foot forward to run and win that seat against Betsy. And I'll say it because it's true. Someone said, "Oh, don't say that. You're giving the Republicans an edge." No, they already have the edge.
The idea that they don't already know this. They are paying. You know, the problem that I have,
Top-ranking Democrats don't want it. We got Roy Brooks retiring. He said, "Oh, no, no, no." Deborah said, "Oh, hell no," because she has put herself out there, and we didn't vote. We did not vote. And then it's not just Fort Worth that she'd be trying to get; it's Arlington, the Mid-Cities,
that's
the
right.
entire county.
Right.
And so, we got problems as a party, and I say we. I am not a party loyalist, not by a long shot.
No, I'm an independent. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm an independent voter.
Vote Democratic most of the time. Let's be honest.
I've never voted any other way other than Democrat. But there are some things that I think Democrats double down on that I don't agree with.
Absolutely.
And I'm vocal about those things too, for those of you that care about me on my soapbox. But I'm having a problem with the performance.
Right.
Because to what end?
Right.
And here we are now, and I understand it was not easy.
You said you were going to name names. We don't have to name names. We can talk about agendas.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we have a couple seats coming available several of those in that Democratic contingency that went to Washington would like to upgrade to. So I wonder if a lot of
Jasmine
that
Crockett
was performative to advance your personal career.
There you go.
Not the cause that you went there.
And I called Jasmine Crockett's name in particular because
Has she announced?
She hasn't done anything. I've heard through the grapevine.
I have too.
But here's my issue with her in particular. But she's in a category with others that you haven't done anything for the state of Texas.
Yeah.
She hails herself as a civil rights attorney. And I could speak to that. I could speak to that, honey, because there's some things that y'all don't know that I need the person to say, yes, you can say it. But there have been some cases that were very high profile that she didn't finish. Now, we can talk about the how comes and the whys, but she did not finish, and it was not because she walked away. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm tired of
interlopers.
Yeah, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of people coming. We have some very serious, very critical issues in the state of Texas. Our attorney general has been indicted, awaiting trial. We cannot play with this seat. And you say, well, okay, Corey, you just a Democrat, so you want a Democratic seat. No, I want somebody who is fully functional, effective, and capable of understanding the issues. Listen, payday loans in the state of Texas need to be outlawed completely because it's 400% interest on those loans. And you have people that are falling in these traps. Dr. Freddie Haynes, senior pastor of Friendship West Baptist Church, we use that space. And Danielle Ayers is the chairperson of the Public Policy Committee, and I think we're going to change the name. I've served on that committee. We, together, it's about 10 or 12 of us, because it wasn't just me and Danielle, it was several people, and several people who were smarter than me and had better ideas. But we sat down and wrote policy to stop the negative impact of payday loans. We delivered that through Casey Thomas, who sits on the city council. They took it as a recommendation, implemented no policies. When it was adopted in part by 33 cities in the United States and completely in 13 cities. Now, you can't say the policy wasn't effective because it was adopted.
I think the whole state of North Carolina has one now against predatory lending. But again, in Texas, if any place is a capitalistic place with free market economy, I have heard the argument from black people, Coy, and I don't mean just black, but black people who are on the margin, who really believe that you are restricted. And unfortunately, black people who get the loans, they feel that to take it away takes away a very viable option of borrowing money because they cannot go to regular institutions. What we have to do is and I think Friendship West has a credit union.
Friendship West has the credit union.
They do micro lending.
Yes.
And they do higher interest, what do they call it? Subprime loans that still don't approach 400%.
Well, Friendship West.
Because they have to have a way to get the money.
So Reverend Dr. Haynes, Freddie Haynes, we took the credit union from St. John Missionary Baptist Church, which is my home church. Took that credit union and Freddie put $1 million in it so that you have a payday loan, you go to the church credit, St. John Federal Credit Union, you go to the credit union located at Friendship West Baptist Church, and then they will give you the money to pay off the loan. And then at a much lower interest rate, you pay it back within a certain amount of time, which is reported to the credit bureaus so that we can start helping you build your credit. They have at Friendship West Baptist Church and other churches about how to be more fiscally responsible to try to help you, savings accounts and that kind of thing. They also do home loan lending so to stop some of this. And all we needed was for the city of Dallas, the state of Texas, the Dems to double down. Like while
they were outlawing plastic bags, I'm just saying things that matter. Things that matter.
You know, and we had a whole thing, Dwayne Caraway, God bless him, he was talking about pull your pants up. Okay, I understand that, Dwayne Wayne, but we got some real issues. All right, I got to take a break. I'm over time. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip.
I don't like his gazelles. So.
Okay, well, he don't wear them that much because he in jail. Okay, so... So we're going to take a quick break. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. We'll be right back. And we're going to unpack what's going on with the Republicans tightening the Texas election laws. This is Corey.
Hey, this is Larry C. Morris, the host of the Power of Prayer Show, broadcasting live each week on Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, coming from the Fishbowl Radio Network studio at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. On my show, I will teach you how you can have an awesome, intimate relationship with God through the power of prayer that will change your very life. Put it on your calendar each week on Thursday at 2 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time to catch the Power of Prayer show
on FishbowlRadioNetwork.com. Jump in. Fishbowl Radio Network wants to congratulate 52 hosted by Tria, this month's show of the month on Fishbowl Radio Network. Log on every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time and start streaming 52 hosted by Tria on Fishbowl Radio Network, the most listened to internet radio network of its kind.
Hi, this is Diane Marion Eunice, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. For the past 9 years, I have worked with over 300 couples in the areas of sexual health, communication, and conflict resolution. If you are interested in rebuilding connection and intimacy with your partner, please contact me today. I can be reached at 682-201-8175, or you can email me at diane@letstalkrelationships.org, or visit my website at www.letstalkrelationships.org. And remember, you can't heal if you refuse to deal.
We are so excited to announce that Antrese Jones Productions has a new TV series coming out called Blocked. Blocked is a suspenseful drama surrounding a young lady named April who is at war with herself, and with a cold heart, she shatters anyone who tries to mend any brokenness from her past. Life itself has dragged her to hell and back, and she's going to make sure that God himself feels her wrath. Blocked is a nail-biter as it confronts many societal issues like church culture, molestation, hypocrisy, judgmental friends, and the inner turmoil of finding your own identity. Matter of fact, we have Antrese Jones, who is the director, the producer, and the writer of this brand new series in the studio with us today.
Hey everybody, it's me, Antrese Jones. Connect with us. Follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I look forward to connecting with you. Stay tuned for my new TV series, Blocked, coming soon to streaming services. Yes!
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties, sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right, and we're back. Crystal tried to adjust her seat. Y'all might have got an eye full. All right, we're back.
I won't charge you this time.
So before we broke, we were on a rant because I'm infuriated. I have to say that I am really, really unhappy, upset, disgruntled, pissed off to the highest levels of pissivity because Mama, I know I'm not supposed to say piss on the radio. So here are the things that I'm struggling with. I talked about, the Dems leaving on a chartered flight to go to D.C. to meet with Democrat national leaders to no avail. We came back home. Now, I'm not being critical that they came home. They did what they could do, and they didn't get what they needed on a national level. We need the John Lewis bill. We need it passed. We need to stop the filibuster. I mean, but Rome was not built in a day. But we also need to understand the tactics that are being used against us. And I have a very dear friend who was running a campaign, and I said to her, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to get this person that she was with. Now, I'm not going to call her name because, it's unnecessary to tell the story. But I said you need to get them with other notable figures that people know and like and are voting for. And she said to me, no, because that's what they do. Well, look, sometimes you fight fire with a fire. You know how, and I am not a fireman, but I'm going to try to use this example.
Okay.
The firemen and women will sometimes, when a fire is like an inferno and it's blazing out of control, they will light a fire in another part of the building to snuff that other fire. Now, I don't understand the science of it, but I know that happens. So the term fight fire with fire means that sometimes you use the very thing that's burning you out to get you to a flame of recognition. You like the way I did that? And so sometimes you have to use those tactics. We want to have integrity. We want to be the ones to say, oh, no. And we're getting beat by people who will lie. People who will do things that are so harmful to the quality of your life.
And we've had this debate before in the 60s, right, where there were members of the NAACP and the Urban League to some extent that believed in the nonviolent movement, turn the other cheek, that, you fight hate with love, and it gets you so far, Coy.
Well, and then 50s with Malcolm and Martin Luther King.
But then you had SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and Malcolm X, who said, now, wait a minute, I've been slapped too many times. I don't have too many more sides left. And in order to win this battle, seems like we might have to hit back, because we need to show people we're not taking this any longer.
Right.
And so I think we're at not an impasse. We're at a critical
But we're at a
point.
pivotal place. I mean,
And
we're
these
on.
millennials are not about this.
No, they're not. And we're on the antithesis of something. Because if we don't do something right now, today, this moment, in this instant, they are going to be burning crosses in our yards again. We're
almost
back.
there. So we're already back to them being able to carry guns in our faces, right? So, and I know that in theory everybody can do it, but they are the ones going to be.
But in practicum, you cannot. And look, in old
Because
school
if I
terms,
carry a gun around here, I'm probably not going to make it to jail. Let me just turn too quickly with the gun on my hip, and I'm going to be shot not only by the police now, but by all the other people carrying the gun.
Well, you know,
this is crazy. I can't wait to get back home to Louisiana. This is the wild, wild west.
Well, Louisiana ain't much better, honey.
Well, they're not allowed to carry the guns out loud.
No, but they are allowed to beat a man to death who's saying, wait a minute, hold on, I'm afraid, and follow him there. So don't be trying to.
Barrett's taking care of that.
I'm going to something else. So let's talk about Senate Bill 1. It rewrites Texas election laws to further restrict the voting by mail process. Now, let me tell you why my parents can vote. Now, my mom and daddy like to go. I have a picture of them for those of you that are nosy, because sometimes y'all like my pictures from 3 years ago, but that's okay. That's fine. It's out there. You will see them holding hands, walking to the polling station. I took the picture because it was sweet. Because that is what they do. They vote together. And since retirement, and my parents been retired a long time, y'all, they would meet their friends there at the school, the neighborhood school, which was a precinct for many, many years until COVID. They would meet and they would have their coffee and they would chit chat and talk, and they would see people that they may not have seen, in several months. Because there is an election every 6 months. I don't know if you all know that, but there is an election of some kind every 6 months. It's just that most of us do not pay attention until it has some national recognition. My concern is about the ability to vote by mail. And I want to talk about, they outlawed local voting initiatives in such a way that it's so restrictive that you now, if you request a mail-in ballot for medical reasons and you're not at the age of, I believe, 65, then you have to have a doctor's note.
With your condition. So you got to disclose your medical
So
condition.
that's a HIPAA violation.
To random people at the Tarrant County, or whatever your county election office is. Well, I mean, you're disclosing it yourself, but to require it.
But it's a requirement, so now you have violated the tenets of HIPAA. Because of privacy. We just saw Dallas Independent School District had, since 2010, all of the data has been exposed.
I saw that.
All of the data.
Yep.
So your child's name, your child's birthday, and I've always had a problem with the Social Security number for children so that they can get state funding. In as much as you have a parent, they can find the parent, then this person had children. I mean, we are talking about the fact that all of this information is integrated anyway. So to have a child's Social Security number out there for Lil Miss Rodriguez to use it and Miss Sample to use it so that the state pays, I have a problem with that. I've never liked it. Now it's exposed. I got a call from T-Mobile. Well, not a call. I got a message from T-Mobile saying that my information had in fact been compromised. They did not see that payment information had been compromised, but my driver's license, my Social Security card, my name, my address.
And what can you do about it?
So on my all three credit bureaus have a restriction. So like when Discover told me, we're going to raise your credit limit. Congratulate. Girl, it made like a real big thing. It's like, I need to spend some more money with y'all. And they said, we're going to increase your credit limit and you get to pick a new card. And I did, girl. I got me a pink card with a C on it. It was very cute. But when I went to do it online, I couldn't. I had to call in because my credit information is restricted. So I have to call the credit bureau and say, I'm about to make a large purchase, blah, blah, blah. I have to communicate with them. It's a hassle. It's a real pain in your behind. But I didn't panic when I got that message from T-Mobile, nor did I panic because my kids were in DISD for about 12 seconds. So, 12. So with that being said,
I'm sure that the administrators and teachers that you encountered in 12 seconds will never forget it either.
They will not. I bless everybody. Everywhere I go, I leave you a blessing of understanding, especially when it comes to my children. So now I'm concerned about that, right? So you have mail-in ballots. Now you have to tell someone what your condition is. So, there's more information involved in voting than they need to have. Now, because I help my father with his with voting, even when we go to the polling stations, I had to fill out a form. Now, if you help someone with a mail-in ballot, you have to fill out a form. Then they want to know what is your relationship to this person and why are you helping them. Well, is that really any of their business? Because the truth is that there has been no voter fraud. It's no voter fraud. They did a study. I'm trying to think of the name of the organization. I want to say it was NYU. Maybe it was Columbia, but I can't swear to it. 3%.
I did see that.
0.3%. That is how much voter fraud they found.
For every 100 people that voted, not even one person, not even a whole person committed fraud. So, but Coy, let's close ranks a little closer since you and I are in this business of politics and talk about why, while I don't think it needs to be that restrictive, there are some conditions that brought this about, and that is vote by mail fraud, where we have for a long time done a wink and a nod with these mail-in ballots. And there are whole systems out there designed, and I don't know that it's fraud as much as getting people talking and on one accord around a ballot and around a slate. And encouraging people to vote a certain way, and they call it ballot assistance. Yeah. And when I say we, I mean those of us who have been professionals in electoral politics have participated. Have I done it illegally? Absolutely not. Do I know of rings that have?
Honey, we know people.
Absolutely, yes.
We know people who make a living.
But instead of calling them out.
Oh, I'm not going to call anybody out.
No, I'm saying this is the bill. Instead of properly
addressing it, right?
A few bad limits.
That's right.
You could go through 3 or 4. I don't know, San Antonio, or Austin politics, but on the Houston-Dallas corridor, you could knock out 4 big consulting firms and call them out, send the right people to jail, and you wouldn't need this bill. Well, everybody's not doing it.
Here's the other thing. You have the FBI that has been very interested in Dallas County for a long time with one person in particular.
That's right.
Nothing has happened. So when we start to talk about voting fraud, I mean, it's not like you're scrambling trying to figure out who's doing what when. Like it's well known, but it's also not so widespread that it's infecting the voting, and that Democrats are beating Republicans. A lot of this,
it's a gray line too.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
If I go to your house and we start talking about, and you ask me who to vote for while you're filling out your ballot, you have a right to do that, and I have a right to tell you.
That's right.
And so, what I see in this voting bill, to bring it back up a level, is because black people are voting. Black and brown. Black and brown people, but it's really black people, because black people are voting, and God forbid the numbers look like we should have the majority of the elected positions, and we're in redistricting, that they are doing everything they can to keep us from voting. Let's just be honest about it. Right. And here's what I want black people to get from it. If white people are trying to keep you from doing it, it might be something you need to do. So let's vote.
Let's vote.
Because I think that is the vaccine to this bill. That's the prevention dose. So they're putting these restrictions on that they hope reduces the numbers. Well, let's go out and triple the numbers.
Well, I think that one of the concerns was that they said we could out-organize the Republicans who are restricting our vote. But the problem that I'm having is the fact that we know that that these restrictions are coming. And what are we doing?
That's right.
It's almost like you're saying, well, I got hit by a truck. It's out the street. Like, get out of the street.
Right.
Like, what strategies are we using? I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in this bill. I'm going to tell you, give me a like. We'll come right back, and I'm going to tell you what's going on with this. I also want to talk about Lil Nas X. Okay, let's talk about it. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip.
What is going on with Lil Nas X? That's also awesome.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
For nearly 30 years, we've had the experienced leadership of Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. Now, it's our duty to ensure that we continue toward progress. I am Jane Hope Hamilton. As a wife, a mother, and for a time a single mother, I know firsthand the challenges that our families face, and I know what it takes to get things done for our families and our community. As the state director for President Biden and former chief of staff on Capitol Hill, I fought for our community to have affordable health care, good paying jobs, and quality education. For years, I have also gone toe-to-toe with those who try to push us back and knock us down. When corrupt Republicans pass discriminatory voting laws that violate our rights, I fought back, went to court, and won. And when an out-of-control cop beat me to the ground, I refused to be intimidated. I stood up for myself, and the charges were dropped because I demanded justice. In this climate, as we face so much uncertainty, I am being encouraged to run in Congressional District 30. And as I consider it, I'd like to hear from you. Together, we can move our communities and our families forward.
Jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
This is Coy with your Black Tea Sip, and I'm joined today by my friend Crystal James, my political colleague, confidant, childhood partner in crime. And we are talking about the fact that the Texas election law is very restrictive. I just want to kind of get some things out that I think are critical to this bill. SB 1 is supposedly to standardize elections throughout the state of Texas and to safeguard against widespread election fraud, which there is absolutely no evidence of widespread election. But the legislation established new ID requirements for voting by mail, enhances protections for partisan poll watchers, and sets new rules and possibly criminal penalties for those who assist voters. So if my daddy turns to me and said, who we say we were going to vote for? And I said, Dad, we said we're going to vote for Crystal James. I can be prosecuted for that.
That's right.
Based on this new bill.
That's right.
It also makes it a state jail felony for local election officials to proactively, to decide, okay, I know that Crystal James and Coy Berry, that they vote by mail every year. I'm going to go ahead, even though they didn't send a request, I'm going to go ahead and send them a ballot. That makes
it. You know where that comes from, because, as you know, in Harris County, and then Tarrant County. You used to, if you requested a ballot once
right,
at the beginning of a calendar year, for every election scheduled in that year, March, May, any runoffs, you automatically got a
mail-in ballot.
Now, doesn't that make just good damn sense that if I was handicapped in January,
I'm going to be handicapped in
the rest
June.
of the year,
I'm going to be handicapped in June.
and to make it accessible for people to vote, I'm just going to send you a ballot, and so that you can exercise the number one right that we protect in this country. I just don't understand.
Now, if your election official sends you a ballot and they cannot prove that you requested it, they can be jailed and they can be charged with a felony. Now, the drive-through voting, they gotten rid of that. This is not about whether or not you feel like you can do certain things to get away with it. And what's her name? Crystal Mason. One of the things that the Democrats tried to do with the objection to this bill was they wanted an amendment. And with State Rep John Turner, Democrat from Dallas, he was hopeful, and this is a direct quote, not because they believe that more people in situations like that of Crystal Mason should be prosecuted or imprisoned. What he was trying to do is say, this is a huge injustice to her, and we don't want other people to suffer, because she did not know that she could not vote. Anytime a bill is written, anytime a judge makes a decision on a ruling in court, you have something that you have as the judge's opinion, and then you have the dissent. So in the Supreme Court, you will have the decision, and it'll be 5 people that agree with that decision. But they also give you the dissent. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg was very good about writing effective dissents. And I've told this story before with the Lilly Ledbetter law. She lost at the Supreme Court level, highest court ruling court of the land. Lilly Ledbetter lost. But the dissent was so poignant and so effective that it then became a law that you have to pay women the same amount as men for the same work, not because she won in court, but because of the dissent, the opinion that says, I disagree, because it then states what the intent of the law should be. Whether it's a court ruling or whether it's a legislative bill, it has the intent. Nowhere in the intent did it suggest if you make a mistake, and here is all the evidence that this was not intentional and that this was a mistake, that this person should be prosecuted at this level. We have to deal with the intent of the law. You cannot assign blame or punishment, supposedly, in this country without dealing with the intent, why the person did what they did. That's the reason why we have different levels of murder. Was it manslaughter or was it first degree murder and it was premeditated? This is why we have that, because we deal with intent. If you didn't see the guy walk crossing the street and he didn't have a reflective jacket on and you used him as a speed bump, it wasn't intentional. You didn't knock him down because you were trying to kill him. You didn't see him. We deal with intent in this country, except for black people like Crystal Mason.
That's right.
And so
when the other man that waited in line to vote didn't know he couldn't, and then what?
Let me just say this: it was a provisional ballot. Y'all, I'm upset. Y'all work with me today because I told y'all the highest levels of festivity.
While you simmer. Provisional, I had to cast one, and it really is a scary thing because you're casting a ballot not sure if it has to be reviewed at the elections office because something is amiss. To give you an example, I moved to Louisiana in 2019. I don't miss an election, and so unfortunately I had to also move my residency to Louisiana, but I failed to get a Louisiana license or ID by that point. Parenthetically, my water and utilities were covered in my lease, so I didn't even have a utility bill to take to vote. But I had my address, had my apartment lease. Well, because I couldn't verify and I had not gotten my card in the mail, my Louisiana voter registration card, I did it online, I had to cast a provisional ballot. And what it tells you very clearly that ballot may not be counted until it's verified.
And so let me say
when the
this.
man went to, go ahead.
Crystal Mason, when Crystal Mason cast that provisional ballot, she did not commit voter fraud because they kicked it.
It did not go.
She is in
into the
prison.
voter pool.
She's in prison for nothing. So when they start talking about the fact that they're looking for fraud, the people that are committing fraud are Ken Paxton, who's out here lying and stealing money and got SEC violations, trying to secure his stock like Miss Martha that fools around with Snoop Dogg. These are the crooks. I am upset today, y'all. I'm upset because
But let's
you
just
got,
look at the
you got
bullets. I
people
want
like
to go
her
through the
in
bullets
jail.
quickly so that you all get the theme on this. Because if we're supposed to be about voting in this country, don't forget the Boston Tea Party.
Right,
and
right.
Anyone who knows
Taxation
your
without
history,
representation.
This is the foundation. Democracy, one person, one vote, is supposed to be what occurs in this country. Other countries laugh at us because we are supposed to be the beacon of democracy. Yet other people have holidays. They have voting days where you don't work because your job that day is to what? Vote. So listen to the bullets. A ban on drive-through voting. Listen, I'm not even gonna. I'll let Coy back and talk about why these things are restrictive and bad for Black folk. New regulations for early voting hours. So when Harris County, to combat the long lines that were existing back in 2020. Did the 24-hour voting to try to help everyone that was trying to vote. You can't have 24-hour voting anymore. You can't have
souls to the poll.
ballot applications. And I wanted to get a little bit more laser focused on that. It is a standard of campaigns that are well funded.
That's right.
To send an application for a ballot.
Yes.
For application for a ballot. And you're not requesting the ballot on behalf of that person. You're sending it to their home with a stamp, mind you, they're paying for it, so that Mr. and Mrs. Berry, so that Mr. and Mrs. Odom Wesley can turn in the application. You're not guaranteeing them a ballot.
Right.
You're spending your money to send 10% of them, only 10% of them are turned in, but campaigns do it. And now you can't even do it. What's wrong with that? Why can't I send you an application? New ID requirements will, again, restrict.
So let me just interrupt you right there. My friend our friend and sorority sister Jane Hamilton, sued the governor.
Sure did.
And won. Okay? I'm upset, y'all. Work with me. She sued him and won. You know why? Because he was saying, I'm talking about Hot Wheels here. Governor Hot Wheels was rolling around, creating havoc. And confusion must be righted. You must bring it around to fix it. He was saying if you had a gun license or if you had a hunting license, you could vote with that. But you couldn't vote with a school ID. Even if it was state school, UT, you couldn't vote with a school ID. Jane sued him, you could vote with a utility bill. That's why Crystal was saying she didn't have a utility bill in Louisiana so she could vote. We've done everything we can to ensure, because people say, well, why don't you have a valid license? Because once you give somebody a ticket for no registration because they don't have a job and all they're trying to do is get to their job interview, and then they get a ticket and then they can't pay it because they don't have any money, and we don't offer resources to people who don't have children and women who are not making a certain amount of money. We don't really offer resources to men, and then that gets interest, and then you have a failure to appear because at that particular time you couldn't get there because of your car situation, and now you don't have a valid license. Go on, Crystal. I'm hot today.
Well, the other one, and we already talked about we didn't talk about poll watcher protections. I think that's kind of neutral, but
no, I don't.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me jump in here. When we talk about poll watcher protections, what they want is to allow people to be able. Republicans can now go to Democratic precincts and be able to intimidate them, to say what they want. You can have your long gun standing at the polling station now. So you got black folks that are, let's just say Stop 6 in Fort Worth. Shout out to Stop 6. I used to work at Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School. And that's a black neighborhood. At that particular polling station, you can now have a Trumpster with a MAGA hat on, stand there with a long gun, watching the people go in to protect voting. That's a fact.
Oh, well, so I guess they just instituted what they were doing in November of 20.
They made it a law.
With the The big Humvees,
Yeah,
and
right,
they go
right.
around the voting stations trying to intimidate people. Oh, okay.
So
no,
they
I didn't know. I
so
thought that was
it's not neutral. And I'm gonna bring it home for those of you that remember when the Trump supporters had the parade and they decided that their final resting place was going to be Friendship West Baptist Church.
Oh, yeah,
and they went
baby.
to the side where the big Black Lives Matter sign was because they assumed because we were not having church because of COVID that they would be able to go there and intimidate in that neighborhood and make a stand. What they did not know was that it's Oak Cliff, Texas, baby. And we all live very close to Friendship West Baptist Church. So
They
when
sent out the call, and how many of y'all got up there?
They-
Same thing in Fort Worth.
they
baby.
were- they weren't
We came
they were
down
prepared.
Miller and when you turn a tank around,
That's
that's
right.
when you know.
That's right.
That's when you know.
So this is, and I'm saying that was a prelude to
Well,
our
they were
response.
also preparing for the insurrection. We now know
yeah.
too. Who knows? They may have been testing out their roundup.
That's
ability,
That's
and they're-
exactly
and
what I'm
that's I
saying.
think.
That was a prelude to what they are now trying to do as poll greeters. Go on to the next one, Crystal.
The next one is we talked about the correction process for mail-in voting. We talked about the poll watch checks. Oh, the monthly citizenship checks. The monthly citizenship checks.
Who you think
that
they
do
checking
not
on?
matter. This is money being spent, y'all. While we don't have enough money for education, money being spent for the Secretary of State monthly to cross-reference the voter registration list with the people who have requested licenses that are not true citizens. So a person who's an immigrant does not have full citizenship status, to make sure they're not on the voter registration rolls and to purge them if they have gotten a license someplace else. Let me help you out. That already happens. So I was in Louisiana. Remember I told you I got a voter registration card. About 3 months later, which a delay makes sense, I got a letter from the Secretary of the State of Texas letting me know that my they had been notified that I registered to vote in another state and that I was being taken off the rolls here. If that was not me, or if I did not do that, please let them know. And so the system's already in place. They are double checking things.
Right.
And that will be money that's spent for some new software. My guess is Governor Abbott, somebody has a
Hot
friend
Wheels.
that's going to provide the software to do something that's totally unnecessary.
But let me speak to
Y'all,
that.
there are not people trying to vote
illegally.
that can't. This is a boogeyman, once again, that is not real.
It is Kaiser Sose.
It's the reason why we were in Afghanistan for how
Okay,
long?
let me just speak to that. Now you're going to have some Afghan immigrants who are going to be thankful to the Biden administration, Democrats, who are going to be harassed by these GOP people.
That's right.
And, you have this idea. And let me just say this as a caveat, because I just need to get it on off of me. Because today, baby.
No, but we operate on innuendo and myth here.
Kaiser Sose. The
Yes.
greatest thing he ever did was tell the world he didn't exist. And then you saw that he existed if you watched the movie.
Yes.
So all I'm saying is, we have Afghanistan. We were supposed to go to Afghanistan to get bin Laden. I'm not going to talk about
And
the
the
fact
weapons of mass destruction
that didn't exist. And I'm not going to talk about the fact that the bin Laden family was living here and kicking it with the Bushes. And
they
then,
best friends.
And then they went ahead and got them on out the country, and when everybody else couldn't fly. I'm not going to talk about that part. Shh, I'm not going to talk about that. But I will talk about the fact that now we're saying the very military people that are saying that we should not leave Afghanistan after 20 years are the same people that will justify the murder of George Floyd. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's right. They are the same people. They're also the same people, literally, not figuratively, who were scaling the walls of the Capitol on January 6th. So let's not forget that. I mean,
Yes,
same
because the shaman has pled guilty.
Yes.
I also want to speak to the fact that the prosecutor, I can't think of her name, and I have it. She has been indicted in the Ahmaud Arbery case for her conduct. For her conduct was not only insensitive, as we continue to tout and shout, it is also criminal because she has a relationship with McMichael, the father, and said, do not arrest Travis McMichael, who was ultimately the shooter that killed Ahmaud Arbery. So rest in love and peace, young brother. We coming. We gonna try to fix it.
A small win, since we're on there real quick. Elijah McClain's killers, the cops.
Yes.
They were all indicted.
They were also indicted.
So maybe something's changing a little bit, but I'd like to get to the point where these young men are never killed.
Well,
I'd like to get there, but back to the innuendo. So we're having all this to address something that doesn't exist. After we've just sent troops over for a decade, longer than 20 years.
20 years, two
decades.
decades.
To Afghanistan. When does it end? And we're all trying to get rid of these Muslim immigrants, Hispanic immigrants, when still to this day the people doing the mass shootings in this country are good old American as baseball and apple pie white boys shooting up stadiums and movie theaters and churches every
and now they have their own
and now you can carry the gun out.
and now they have their own their god that they worship, which is at the throne of Trump.
Oh yeah, sure. Or what's the name of it? The Q people, the QAnon people,
which is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a congresswoman. They've stripped her of all of her committees, so she's effectively ineffective. But we have these things. So when we're talking about the problems that we have in the Texas legislature, let me say this to you. It is infectious. What we do in Texas, they're going to do in Mississippi. They're going to do it in Alabama. They're going to do it in Florida. They're going to try to do it in Oklahoma. They're going to try to do it in This is going to be a problem because it's a cancer, and we have to stop it. I want to just say this. We've got floods, fire, brimstone, and pestilence going on.
Lord, when we gonna get it? Right? What you trying to tell us, Lord? I know what you're trying to tell us.
We have subways in New York completely flooded. People were standing on the seats.
In the city, there was so much concrete. It has never flooded like this before.
No, but I do know, someone shared with me that there was a time there were 3 inches of water in New York, and it rained overnight. Because they don't have, like where you live, in New Orleans, they have those pumps that pulls the water
back out to the bodies of water.
Right. In Texas, we have it where the tributaries get it. So in Dallas. But we have other places like in San Antonio where they pump the water back into a place, a body of water, so that we don't have this kind of flooding. However, if you remember, we had Snowmageddon in Texas and people died. 46 people died on Thursday after they ran the numbers in New Jersey, and 46 people died because of Ida on the east, 46. And that was the number on Thursday, after New Jersey announced that at least 23 people had died there in New Jersey. So we have a lot of things going on, and it's because of climate change. The GOP does not believe in climate change. They don't believe that these things are happening, that the earth is warming, the snow caps are melting, pushing more water out. We saw the effects of that when we had the tsunami, and they said it was like 46 stories high, and it washed over.
Surge, yeah.
So we are now being affected by this. Listen, I understand I'm saying a lot today. I'm trying to get y'all to understand that we are in a fight for our lives.
We need everybody to join. I just when I'm part of superfluous or random conversations, and I'll talk about Real Housewives stuff because it's funny. I'll talk about
Lil Nas X, so we're about to get there in just a minute.
But we've got we need to be engaging somewhere. If global warming isn't your thing, maybe criminal justice is. If criminal justice isn't your thing, maybe immigrant rights is. If immigrant rights isn't your thing, maybe
women's rights to choose.
Is. Maybe if maternal health and women. I just went to an infant mortality task force, and Tarrant County still has these zip codes that are the highest infant mortality rates in the country. And the social determinants of a woman's health, i.e. racism and stress, are the main reason. And I need to share this really quickly. The mayor of Fort Worth, in all of her ignorance, came and addressed the group of
Betsy's protege,
Miss Maddie Parker, and sat up there and told us about this daughter she adopted, whose mama was a crackhead, and who was, thank God she was in jail and couldn't use drugs while they delivered the baby that she adopted, and thought that related to infant mortality. Well, I had to stop her and say, ma'am, I hope you realize that I am more likely to deliver prematurely or be affected by infant mortality than I have 3 degrees. I have lived upper middle class my whole life, but it is the stress of racism that will cause my womb to malfunction faster than somebody who's lived on the streets their whole life, or as fast as she did. No, people don't get it. We are not okay. That's what you're seeing in Coy today. We're not okay.
No, I'm pissed.
We are not, and we might look the part. We don't look like what we've been through. And that's because we're masterful at that. We're masterful at wearing the mask.
Well, we learned that on the plantation.
But we're going through some things here, and we're not better off for it. We're going through some things, and it's showing up. It's showing up. Yesterday, one of the presentations they gave, Coy, was how black women are dying at alarming rates.
Yes.
Very quickly. Heart disease is our number one issue, and what's bringing it on?
Stress.
Daily stress.
Stress. The stress of functioning in this skin, in this country. That is what's happening. I got to get to this because I got to get out of here in just a minute. Lil Nas X, pull up the picture. I want people to see what I'm talking about. Angelo's gonna give y'all the picture. Lil Nas X.
Yeah, I saw something yesterday, but I didn't get it. He said he was getting off the internet because it's hurting his baby, and I was like, "What the hell?"
So,
and I know he's a shock factor. Dude.
I am starting now. I know I'm not supposed to say this, and y'all about to get on me about this. I'm starting to wonder if this guy is really gay, because
it's just a marketing ploy. I don't know.
The gays are even saying WTF. Like,
if
you go to Black
video
Twitter,
was too much.
If you go to Black Twitter, you know what? When he did the video where he descended into hell on a stripper pole and gave Satan a lap dance, the gays were saying, "Whoa, hold up now." This is a little
Jesus in the gay community too.
Right. And we know that because they were our choir directors and helped us get ready for all the Easter and Christmas programs. Don't act like black folks are not friends of the gay community, because we know they got you ready for prom. They whipped your hair. They got our Easter and Christmas programs together. Don't start me.
One of them kicked me out the choir. Told me I couldn't sing. He's right though.
But so what we know is that black folks and gays, we're not as divided as one would try to think.
Worshipers.
So don't start that foolishness. Lil Nas X, pull a picture one more time for me, Angelo. Put the other one up. He took a picture as if he were gay. As if he were pregnant, a man having a baby. Now, we can aspire to all kinds of things. You identify a certain way. God bless you.
I'm going to respect you and let you make it.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me. How you choose to live your life has absolutely nothing to do with me. If you're a bee and you identify as a bird, well, then be a bird. The birds and the bees doesn't bother me. But I do not appreciate the fact that you do not want to honor the fact that only a woman can have a baby. The black woman is mitochondria Eve. Google that.
And you can be non-binary, whatever, he, she, they, it, whatever. That is a God-given biological fact.
And that's a fact. We don't even have to talk about God-given. That's science.
Yeah, let's not talk about God.
That's science. A woman has a baby. A man supplies the sperm, the seed. He actually fertilizes the seed so it can grow into a child. Okay, so a woman can't have a baby without a man, and a man can't have a baby without. Unless you talk about the test tube and you go out there with the turkey.
But even there, the two things required.
But you need that to happen. This is not. I don't know what he's trying to prove. He's having an industry baby. Is what he's saying. His album is being released. And so in his album
he's trying to, isn't that the way Beyonce was for one of her maternity pictures?
That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. It is
it's disrespectful.
An homage.
Where is his mother? Where is his mother?
I don't know. I don't know nothing about this man.
Now let me tell you something. I loved Little Old Town Road. That was my song. Everybody said I should go back to pre-K or kindergarten. It
was a cute song.
I thought it was cute, and I think his marketing was cute, and I even supported him when he came out gay. I don't know what it has to do with the music, but fine. You want to come out gay and advocate.
Well,
but now you're just
live your life.
You're taking it too far because you're not really advocating for gay rights. You are a freak of nature, not because you're gay. And anybody knows me knows I know and love gay people, and I respect any lifestyle, like Coy said. But you're bastardizing it. You really are.
Now, what this is to me is the further emasculation of black manhood. And he is allowing himself to be used as a tool. Somebody gave this boy this idea. This was not his idea.
Oh, he's got an agent somewhere saying, we're going to take it this far. And you know who else has an agent right behind him? Lil Boosie, who wants to talk about it every single time.
But I'm not even saying that. I am saying that industry leaders, the people who make the decisions at these particular, they're pimping this boy out, and he doesn't. Let me just get it out.
But he may be willing.
Well, he is willing because he wants those checks to keep rolling in. But this is the emasculation of black manhood. You cannot be gay. Because you know what? You're not less of a man, quote unquote,
That's
because
right.
you are gay. So people do not think that. I mean, there's some idiots out there, like, these GOPers. There's some idiots out there that try to say this and that, but that's not really the case. I mean, I don't think that.
I don't think being gay affects your gender.
Until
you decide it does.
I mean, now they talking about the bottom and the top and the pillow biters and who is and if they strong and they weak and they shrink and that's too much for me. That's too much for me. I'm not in the community like that. That's too much. All I'm simply saying in this moment where I have 3 minutes, because Crystal, she'll keep going. I got 3 minutes to get it out. What I am saying is this is the further emasculation of black manhood, and y'all get your children. Protect your children from this. I am not saying that being gay is taboo and that we shouldn't have conversation, because what I don't want is these children killing themselves.
That's right.
And so we need to have real conversations about it is okay. It's not okay to stay and not be okay. But if you are gay, that's okay. You need to have the right and the benefit to live your life. But a man getting pregnant, that's not what this is. And this is to further shrink black men.
And I hope all that's rated X, because what I don't want to do, I saw my lines to talk about it, is because of this mess, have to have conversations with your children.
But you do. I had my cousin asked her mother, what is erectile dysfunction? And I walked in the door, and this was during, what is that, with Vanna White, when they have that on
They
there?
had a commercial, Wheel of Fortune?
Wheel of Fortune. And I walked in there, and she was cooking. And
It was one of the Wheel of Fortune
It was
things?
erectile dysfunction. And so she couldn't answer it, and she said, I rang the doorbell just in time. And so when the baby asked me, she said, ask Cousin Coy, and I didn't know what the question was. I said, what you got, baby? And she said, what is erectile dysfunction? And I said, you see what I'm doing right now? I'm standing erect. If I were to do like this, it's a dysfunction. So I bent my shoulders over and showed the child that would be a dysfunction, because this baby at 6 years old or 5
does not need to know about penile erectile dysfunction, right?
And so that's too much. Then you got to explain too much. This right here, when my children saw it, they were like, you know what? Enough is enough. The gays are saying enough is enough. And I am saying protect your children, because this is not about whether or not it's okay to be gay, because that's what they're going to turn this to and try to tell you that's what it's about.
You're anti-gay, just like if you're anti-Lizzo being naked, you're anti-fat women. That's not true.
But so it's not true at all, because Crystal and I had a conversation about it, and Crystal was like, I wouldn't be out here with my clothes off. So
not with my ass cheeks touching the stadium seat somewhere, and she's got on a thong at the baseball game, the basketball game.
I talked about that at length. I want people to understand that you don't have to get on the bandwagon for everything to show that you are pro-people having the right to make choices.
And don't let people gaslight you, right? Because you don't like this, but you may like gay people,
right?
They're gonna say, "Oh, you're anti this." Don't let anyone gaslight you.
Do not allow them to paint you into a box where you have to say that everything is okay and nothing is taboo. That's my time. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. We'll do it again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Unfortunately, Crystal won't be here with us because we always have a good time. But listen, love, peace.
I might. It's still flooded. No, there's no power in Louisiana, so I might.
Well, we don't want her to not have power, but we do want her to come back. Listen, love, peace, and hair grease. We'll do it again. And I'm out. Thank you, Angelo.
Good to see everybody.